but also second last session of our Interact Amsterdam Virtual Festival Week. Hello, if it's your first session, or welcome back if you've been watching sessions over the last 4 days. We already had a very inspiring session this morning from Nomensa's own user experience writer, Lauren Ellis. Lauren was talking about designing for the debt. But before we start now, please do get involved and say hello to each other in the chat. Make sure you switch your chat settings to panelists and attendees so everyone can see your messages. And do let us know if there are any audio issues or any issues with the stream, and we'll try to get things fixed for you as soon as possible. Now, we're really excited for our second talk of today. This talk is branded and true experiences for ABN AMRO customers, from values to buttons. From head of UX at ABN AMRO, Jennie Huijboom, and service designer at Informaat, Gerjan Boer. In this presentation, Jennie and Gerjan will discuss their approach, results, and lessons learned to create an onboard experience for ABN AMRO clients in realizing true experiences which are valuable, authentic, and credible. Please do ask a lot of questions using the Q&A box. I will be asking these to Jennie and Gerjan at the end, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. So without any further delay, I'll hand over to Gabi and to Gerjan to begin. Thank you very much and enjoy.
Hi everyone, I'm Gerjan Boer from Holland. And I work for Informaat as a service designer. And I work together with Jennie from ABN AMRO on value-based design, and we use that to deliver distinguished experiences for the bank. And at Informaat, we call that true experience design. And I will tell about what true experiences are, why they are important, and how to design them. And now I hand it over to Jennie.
Hello, my name is Jennie Huijboom. I work as head of UX at ABN AMRO. So let's start with a question. Customer experiences of banks are all alike. We are very curious what you think. So please give us your answer in the chat. Please answer yes if you agree, and answer no if you don't agree.
So I see a lot of no's coming in. And some yes answers. That looks good. Okay, then comes the second question.
And the second question is, my bank clearly delivers on their brand promise. And same story, please answer yes if you agree, and answer no if you don't agree. And now I see a lot of no's appearing.
I see yes coming in, but also no. So it's a little bit 50-50. Sort of. Yes, your bank delivers clearly on the brand promise. Now, for example, on these questions, Kantar has done some research, and they found out that the bank market is pretty grayish. Banks don't have a differentiating experience. So the challenge for banks is that they create some more differentiating experiences, and they bridge the gap between what the promise is and what they deliver to the customers. And it's also a challenge to let the brand fit the values of the customers. And I will explain that to create this distinguishing experience, we believe that value-based design is a wise thing to do. Value-based design, we call it at Informaat true experience. And why is that important? I will start with an example from the retail market. In the retail market, supermarkets are also trying to distinguish themselves with particular experiences. For example, here you see a pop-up store of Albert Heijn at Schiphol Airport. And that pop-up store is fully automatic. It's 24/7 opened. It's without staff, but with a lot of technology. And with this new concept, Albert Heijn focuses on values like speed and convenience enabled by technology. But on the other hand, you have, for example, Jumbo. And Jumbo has a new proposition which focuses on social contact. And that's what they do with the so-called chat register, in Dutch, the kletskassa. And in that queue, mostly older people can take the time for a chat with the employee. So in addition to a basic proposition, food products, organizations choose to distinguish themselves on other values. And in the banking world, you have, for example, a bank like ING, which is pretty technical, innovation bank, and Triodos focuses more on sustainability. And this fits with a number of trends and developments we are observing. The first trend is that there are many technologies. Companies deliver the latest gadgets in a very high tempo, but you will ask yourself, what is of real value for the people and for the organizations? And the second trend is the importance of customer experience. That is growing. There is more and more pressure on organizations to really have their customer experience in order. User friendliness simply isn't enough any longer. You have to really add value to customers to remain relevant. And last but not least, there is a new generation of customers coming up. Generation Z, they have their own patterns and needs. They are the first true digital natives, and they are more socially and climate conscious. And they are much more in search of authenticity and deeper values. And those values determine whether or not they choose for an organization or a brand. And we see this trend also broader in other generations too. Here is a research quote that shows that the values of the company increasingly make the difference for consumers. It seems like we're in a kind of transformation. We have had the digital transformation and the agile transformation and the experience transformation. And now we are getting into the value transformation, which will deepen the experiences. Organizations need to have values, and their customer experiences will have to address the values of the customer. And that is where design for shared values comes in. And at Informaat, we call design for shared values true experience design. But what do we mean by a true experience? We define it like this. True experience is an experience with a product, a service or organization that is valuable, authentic, and credible. And valuable means, does it address the customer's needs and deeper values? And authentic means, does the service match the DNA of the organization? And credible means, are the values consistently reflected in the service? Does the organization keep its promises in the service itself and in the touch point? And a good example of a valuable service is the example I just mentioned of Jumbo. And a good example of authenticity is Access for All, who finds values like freedom and privacy so important that they even start to compete with their parent company KPN. And a good example of credibility is Coolblue. Coolblue has their mission, everything for a smile, in all their channels, touch points, and employees. The entire organization is briefing that mission. All right, I said it very well, but what are the benefits for me as an organization? Well, research shows that when you do true experience design, you will get happier customers, more satisfied, and they become loyal ambassadors who recommend your organizations to others. Or you get more business and profit. Consumers spend more on purpose-driven organizations. That's what research shows. And also your employees will be more inspired and aligned by a clear and meaningful purpose. Okay, so far on what is the true experience and what does it deliver to me? Take a look at how you do it, how to design a true experience. We do that with true experience design, and true experience design is expressing shared values in all manifestations of your service. And these shared values need to be a cleverly selected set. So you cannot represent all values. You need to select them. And people can have very different values. You see them here. We are not talking about values like socially responsible or climate conscious, purpose with a capital P, but also values like that a service may save time or be convenient or give pleasure or give a feeling of belonging. And altogether, it looks like a lot of unclassified and unconnected values, but you can actually structure them quite well in a Maslow-like pyramid. And I will show that. On the first level, you have economical and functional values, like that service saves time or reduces costs, or it connects, or it informs. And on the second level, we have more emotional values, like that a service motivates me, or rewards me, or reminds me of earlier times, or it gives fun, it's a pleasure. And on the level above, there are more identity values, like the service gives you a sense of belonging, or it provides you a certain status. And on the top, you have more meaningful values, that the service contributes to a thing that's bigger than yourself, like freedom or justice or sustainability, or also personal growth. I've put in here, what we see is that organizations often focus on the lower level, the basic economic functional level. And what we see more and more is that new organizations, startups are focusing more on the levels above. And also current organizations are making that movement because that's where they get a deeper connection with the customer. I've put in some examples of companies, you know, for example, Action, who delivers cheap products, and Ryanair delivers basic flights. And you have the Tikkie service of ABN AMRO, which is a payment service, but really funny to do. And you have Apple, who provides a certain status and a sense of belonging, if you are a big fan. And you have Amnesty, who fights for justice, or Nike, who gives you personal growth, and The Correspondent, who is a typical party for truth. But how do you decide in all these values, which values to focus on? That's a strategic step. You find the values that are important for your target group and the values that are important for your organization. And you try to find a match between them, but not the values that your competitor is better in than you are. So it's all about the match and finding the deeper values of your customer. So on the left, you see a customer who has 5 values like freedom and fun and variety. And on the right, you see an organization that has values like variety and ease and quality. And you try to find the match between the two, the values that you have in common. And in this case, that is variety, flexibility, and status. And then comes the next step. You try to manifestate these values across all channels. That will make the experience for the customer very credible. And you need for that design in a creative and systematic way. To give an example on these same values, variety, flexibility, and status, OneFit is a company that is the Airbnb of gyms. So with a subscription, you can have unlimited access to various independent boutique gyms to try sports. And you might think that the market of fitness schools is saturated, but OneFit found new values and they based their proposition on them. They have a variety of sports. It's flexible. You don't have a year contract. You have a monthly subscription, and it gives you status because you can also go to exclusive gyms. And what they did very well is that they translated these values into the different design elements that you see here. So you see copy, you see photography with a sporter that does 2 sports in one picture, and you see a nice visual design, and you see variety in the UX elements, all the gyms that are involved here. It speaks for itself that when you want to create these design elements, then you need to follow a structured process, a value-based design process. So this is a standard design process. And what we now do is that we, in every stage of the process, we involve and focus on values. So in the understand phase, we focus on true experience values. And in the second phase, we create a true concept. And in the end, we create a true experience. So it's design for shared values. And we also enriched our design artifacts that every designer knows, like personas or a value proposition canvas or a customer journey template with a value component that gives the possibility to think and design with values. And also, and it's my last slide, we created a true experience toolkit where you have templates, for example, the pyramid that I showed, and also a matching template to match the values of the customer and the organization. And you can download this to this toolkit right after the whole presentation. And I give now the microphone to my companion, Jennie.
Thank you. All right. So what did we do at ABN AMRO? Well, at ABN AMRO, we are facing exactly the challenge that Gerjan already described. So this is our purpose, banking for betters for generations to come. And here you see our brand values. We want to be an expert for our clients. We want to be future oriented. We want to be socially engaged and enterprising. And in the heart of it all stands autonomy, our most important brand value. So how do we do on these values? Well, research showed us that we are actually seen as an enterprising bank with expertise. So we're doing quite good on that. But so are other banks. So we are not really distinctive in that. Furthermore, we score fair on future oriented, and we score even badly on socially engaged. Only 23% of the respondents sees us as socially engaged. So we really have a job to do here. And another trigger to start the project Branded Experience was the discussion we had within the department investments. As Gerjan already described, you want to find shared values between your company and the target audience. And our target audience, based on need scope, values autonomy a lot and feels aversion towards too patronizing guidance. So the question was raised whether guided investments, the proposition, would be on brand given these values. Well, you can have a discussion about that, but it became clear that we would never decommission a successful product that many of our other clients were already happy with. So we realized that we needed to think about propositions being on brand or off brand before starting putting products to the market. So this was already happened, but for future propositions, we needed to do this better. So the discussion on guided investments and the research on brand values made us define the following challenge. How might we give people distinctive, high quality, on-brand experiences so we can build relationships on a higher level than we do now? And that might sound easy, but we're in a situation that's quite complex, where many people within ABN AMRO are in different ways responsible for providing little parts of that experience, like advisors, proposition marketeers, copywriters, digital designers, and e-commerce marketeers. And they even have different targets. E-commerce marketeers have very commercial targets, and digital designers of the app might have targets on the usability of the app. So that gives some conflict as well. So we started thinking about this and came up with an approach to solve this challenge. We wrote this playbook and we initiated a lot of workshops. We secured our brand information in our methods and tools. And currently we are setting up governance around branded experience. And I'm going to talk to you about all 4 of these. Developing a playbook. So this is what our playbook looks like. We started out with describing why branded experience is important. And actually that's very close to the story of Gerjan. We described our brand values and we made very practical guidelines on it. And we delivered a yardstick, which I'm going to show you. We developed some workshops, gave a lot of examples and provided contact information. So here is an example of the guidelines on autonomy. On the left-hand side, you see how we want to be perceived by the customer. For instance, ABN AMRO always offers me additional options so that as a customer, I understand what is happening, what comes next, and what needs to be done. And on the right-hand side, you see actual behavior we want to show to our customers throughout all the channels. For instance, we ask customers about their ideas regarding their financial future. And this is the voice yardstick we made. In the middle, you see again our brand values: autonomy, expert, future-oriented, socially engaged, and enterprising. And we came up with some words we associate with it. So what we think people would experience if we do this well. And on the left-hand side, we came up with words that people would experience if we don't do this well. But you can also exaggerate, you can do too much of it. And on the right-hand side, we came up with associations, how we would then be experienced. For instance, I'm gonna pick out future-oriented. If we do too little of that, we could be perceived as short-sighted and old-fashioned. If we do too much of it, we would be too revolutionary or even sci-fi. And if we are spot-on future-oriented, we want to be perceived as innovative, positive, and improvement-oriented. So we got our playbook done, and then we started to bring it into practice. So we were having a lot of workshops with various disciplines. So for instance, researchers, proposition marketeers who are responsible for thinking out new propositions for our clients, digital designers, content and copy experts, marketeers, and so on. And for each group, we made it tailor-made to our workshop, and we started with the teams with the most appetite, and we were expanding where the energy was. And also we made it an iterative process. So things that came out of the workshop, good new insights or examples, we put back into the playbook and used it for the workshops to come. So this is what that would look like in practice. Before Corona, we could still come into a room together, and we put up all different kinds of examples up on the wall, like photography. We got out of ABN AMRO.nl, but also examples of propositions, illustrations, chat sessions. And we put them up on the wall, and next to it, we put up the brand yardstick, and we asked the respondents to dot vote on how much they thought this example was on brand. So if there were a lot of dots in the middle, you could conclude that we do well. And if there are a lot of dots to the left or to the right side, we're actually not spot on. And this gave us really good insights, because a lot of dots in the middle for all brand values would show that we have got a really good example of something being on brand. And if you see a lot of difference, that's also very interesting. If some people say it's spot on and other people say, nah, it's too little or even too much at the same time, then you can have a really interesting discussion on different points of view. Methods and tools. So then we made a map of which methods and tools we needed to update with this new branded experience project. Well, our design system is called Emerald. We added all the new guidelines around branded experience to it. Our design process, there we made connections with brand values in different stages of our design process. For research, this means that we are currently looking for new ways to validate on these brand aspects. We added the workshops that we made to our academy and our onboarding program. And we are currently adding brand metrics to our measurement and steering dashboards. So what were our key learnings? Well, first of all, it involves all disciplines. Every employee is part of our brand. So we need all these people to start thinking how to apply this to their jobs. So the workshops we did and the people we involved were very broad, from e-commerce marketeers to people designing the app, to people writing texts for our chatbot. And actually it was quite easy to get everyone at the table, as we noticed that people had been struggling with this over time. The second key learning is that you have to open up the discussion. And what I mean by that is that we should not tell people what to do or what is on brand or off brand, so what is right or what is wrong, but we want to teach them to think about what branded experience means and help them having the right discussions. And here are some examples of discussions we had with the group designing the ABN AMRO app. So we had a discussion about, should a transfer screen, like you see on the right-hand side, be branded? So this is where you transfer money to someone else, and you have this task to be done and you want to get over with. And would this be the right place to put a lot of personality into it? You can have a discussion about that. And we also had a discussion about what would being an expert mean for the app. Does that mean that you need to have a button on every single page so you can directly contact an advisor? Is that what you mean? What we mean by it, or would it be something else? Would we put more of advice into the app right away without an advisor? And then a third example of what we had a discussion about is the Easter Bunny banner. You see also on the right hand side, and you see the eggs. They were also bouncing. A lot of customers really thought it was funny, and it was a sort of delight to them. But is it really on brand? I don't give you the answer here, but it's good to have the discussion and see different opinions on it. And the last key learning is that it doesn't end with the workshops. This is not a project with a beginning and a very clear end. We need people with a continuous responsibility to take this further step by step in an agile way. So we are currently introducing a brand board, which exists of directors of brand, customer experience, and user experience. And to start with, they have the following three responsibilities. As I said, we want people out of the business to have discussions, but we don't want these discussions to go on for too long. And that is what we saw before around a banner. E-commerce employees thought it was really spot on brand, and people working on the app thought it was off brand. And it really got stuck. And the brand board will be there to help making calls on this. Another thing they can help with is to validate on brand matters, because we don't have all the wisdom ourselves. We need to involve customers to validate. And a third thing the brand board is responsible for is also keeping the story alive. So they have to feed the organization continuously with new insights around branded experience. And that was my third key learning and also the last. So that's my talk for now, and we can go to the questions and answers.
Thanks for that, Jennie Gerjan. Such an interesting talk and very inspiring to learn about your true experience journey. Really enjoyed that. I've already seen a question coming in the chat from Simon. So actually there are 3 questions. I just will read one after each other, then you get time to answer the first and the second and the third. So Sami is saying, I'm loving this presentation. So my question, how do you get clients, Gerjan, to think about experience in a bigger and richer way? That's the first one.
Yeah, my answer would be that, as I told in the story also, there's a sense of urgency. If you don't do it, then others will do it, like startups coming in. For example, Picnic, that's in our market, a supermarket who delivers at home in a very pleasant way. And the other thing, sense of urgency, is the new generation that is coming up, which has values that are high values, idealistic, and they are looking for authenticity, and not only them, but also other generations as well. So that's the sense of urgency that you have. Yeah, Jennie fills me. Yeah.
Me from out of the field, I think that a lot of people are struggling with this. For instance, when I get new designers into my team, I get questions like, well, before I was working for another bank, ING, and now I'm working for ABN AMRO, what am I gonna do differently? And I never had a really good answer to that question. And like I said, we see it in research, and I bet other companies do as well. So I think a lot of companies are struggling with this, not just us, I hope.
Perfect, thanks. And second question is, how do you get clients to think beyond user friendliness?
Yeah, it's the same sense of urgency that I just told about. And also as a designer, I think that you have the tools to show that it can be different, that it can be multi-channel, seamless experience. What we, for example, have as a proposition is to create a showcase first, that you show how it can be different. And then they see it and they feel it.
And then the third is, does design majority play a factor?
Design majority?
Majority.
Design maturity, yeah.
Yes, yes, for sure. I think when one needs to, when you want to go up the pyramid, you first have to have the basics in place. That's where you have to invest first, and then you take the next step more upwards. Yeah.
So then I have a question from Sander. I'm going to switch now to Q&A, go back to the chat that we have different people asking. So Sander's asking, what were your biggest hurdles in this massive and complex project, and how did you overcome them?
Good question.
Yeah.
I think it's because it involves so many disciplines. It's like a very big chunk, and you have to make it small. As we started out, we were wondering who we needed to make the branded experience better. And actually it was everybody, and we have a lot of employees. So it's where to start. And that's, I think what we did is chop it into little chunks and just start and go with the end and show results first on a small scale and take it from there. Yeah, so I think that's the biggest challenge, that is actually it's not an easy thing to do, with so many people being responsible for a little part of the customer experience. I hope this answers the question, and I don't know if you have anything to add to it.
Yeah, for example, what Jenny told about the two different propositions, you can discuss on it which one is okay and fits the most the customer, but to make the decision to stop with a certain proposition, that's a second step.
Yeah.
And that's pretty difficult to take because there are clients involved, customers involved in this proposition. So you need to be aware of that, and that's also money involved. Yeah.
Thank you. Then we have another question from Simon. I love Jenny's point. We are not saying what is right or wrong. This is brilliant. So my question to Jenny, how important is collaboration? What does collaboration mean to ABN AMRO?
Yeah, I think it all depends on collaborations. We have to do this together. If we all run a different direction, we will not provide a consistent experience. So what we did is, I just told we did these sessions with content and copy specialists, with digital designers, but we also did it in multidisciplinary teams, to make sure that people across disciplines also talk about branded experience. And then you get different kinds of discussions, actually. But I saw we really needed to force that. So we came up with these workshops and invited people and got them into the same room before Corona, literally in a room, and later on digitally. And we need to force it upon them, but actually they quite liked it. So they saw it as an enrichment. Any other questions? Blijft hangen of zo.
Ja. So not.
Hello, sorry, we may have lost Manuela.
Sorry, I'm back. So,
okay.
Sorry, my connection just disrupted today. That's the first time. So embarrassing.
I'll leave it to you, Manuela, to do the rest of the Q&A.
I hope. Sorry, I couldn't hear your full answer for the last question. So I guess you answered it. So I'm gonna ask you the next question from Joris. So Joris saying, "Hi Jenny, nice to see you again. It's been a while. My question would be,
Joris.
Oh, Joris ook. Hi Joris.
I'm sure that CX was already an important part of your design channel and comms. So how exactly is what you present today different to what you guys did before? What's the key, that additional challenge you are dealing with? Thanks."
Hey Joris, nice to hear from you. Well, actually, to be honest, before we didn't even have these discussions on brand. So a lot of people working for ABN AMRO, and if you would ask them what are our brand values, I would be happy if they would come up with 2 of them, while we have 5. So that is, I think, the biggest change, to educate them on it and to force them to think about it and apply it more into their work. So that's actually quite different than how we worked before, to be honest.
Thank you. Then we have a question from Lisa. Lisa's asking, which are the banks worldwide who are doing an excellent job of customer service and brand value authenticity? Difficult one.
Yeah, this is a difficult one. Can you repeat it? Which are the banks worldwide?
Which are the banks worldwide who are doing an excellent job of customer service and brand value authenticity? Yeah,
I think that's a very, for me, that's a pretty difficult question. But I think in Holland, for example, you have the Triodos Bank, who is a pretty sustainable bank, and also ASN Bank, and they are really authentic, and they are known for this value. And when you go there, when you become a client there, then you know where you go, where you bet your money on, for example. But the app of them, the digital app, is a little bit worse than the apps of the other banks. but you take that for granted. Yeah.
Thank you. Then we have from Anonymous a question. What are your personal favorite brand experiences? I guess that's a question for Gerjan.
Well, my last experience was that Coolblue came to deliver my broken dishwasher, or came to deliver a dishwasher and took my broken dishwasher in just, I think, half an hour. And these guys were making jokes and smiling. So it was really the experience of everything for a smile.
Cool. Then Joris is asking another question. Can you tell a bit more about the governance scope of the brand board? How do they collaborate with all these teams that have their own end-to-end responsibilities of customer journeys?
Yes, actually, we're currently setting up this brand board. So we are new, and right now we're in the phase of still doing the workshops, but we're already thinking about the phase behind it, and we are currently setting it up and trying to get everybody with the right mandate into it. So like I said, we have a department called Brand Communications and Marketing. We want someone from there. They're already collaborating, of course, within the workshops with us. Someone responsible from customer experience, myself, e-commerce, and we really want people with the right mandate into this team. But we're not there yet. So the brand board, we're actually, as we speak, we are forming it.
Maybe that's something to talk about in the next session.
Yeah.
Eduardo is asking, can you give some examples on how you measure the impact of the new way of working and the outcome?
Yes, that's a good one. So I started out with the research and that we are not doing quite well on our brand values. We measure that annually, and hopefully we will see progress on that. We also measure the brand recognition. So then we ask people, do you know ABN AMRO? We measure how many people can answer spontaneously mention ABN AMRO if you ask them which banks do you know. And we measure the brand preference. And the last one, we're currently not that high on that, and we hope to see that one increase.
To improve, yeah, increase.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. So at the moment, there might come more questions in it, but I have asked all questions so far. Let's see. Yes, there are all questions being answered. So if there are no more questions coming in from the audience, I'm going to say thank you, Jennie and Gerjan, again for this really inspiring session today. We really enjoyed it all. To the audience, our next final session will be at 4 p.m. Amsterdam time or 3 p.m. London time. In this final session, our panel will be discussing what makes a great design leader. Our panel is made up of 3 leaders that stand tall in design. Lisa Anderson, head of UX at Booking.com, Anne Longley, founder of Something New Together, and Gabriella Lovering, director of experiences at Backbase. The session will be moderated by Nomenta's Hannah Tempest, head of experience delivery. If you haven't signed up yet, there's still time to do so. Go to Eventbrite and sign up. Thank you very much for having you all here, and see you all at 4 p.m. at the last and final session of this week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.